So one thing I'm really missing this summer, in the middle of the pandemic and all the borders being closed and people not being able to travel, is the Summer Olympics. And it only comes every 4 years, and it's something I look forward to. I've always enjoyed watching the Olympics, and I find it so uplifting to be able to look at what the best of the physical best has to offer. I'm not an athlete. I'm not even a team player most of the time, but I do enjoy watching the sports, especially the individual sports like running and gymnastics and things like that. So the person I'm going to talk about today is a very famous gymnast that had a huge effect on me and probably all little girls when she was making her debut on the Olympic stage. Nadia Coma, who was a 14-year-old Romanian gymnast who scored the first perfect 10 from the judges in gymnastics. For any of the Olympic gymnasts, she was the first one. And in that games, she ended up getting 7 10s and a whole bunch of gold medals and silver and bronze. But it was the 10s that really set her apart. And she was just this kid. She was tiny little thing, and she was so elegant and focused, and she captured people's imaginations. And I think it changed the Olympic Games. I think people started watching them in a different way. They definitely started watching gymnastics in a different way. But it was also interesting because she was from Romania, which was one of those countries in Europe that was behind the Iron Curtain at that time, a communist country. And we were in the middle of the Cold War in the 70s and 80s. And I think that kind of added to the mystique. I know I probably didn't pay as much attention to her until the 1980 games that were in Moscow. And I remember that feeling of like, oh, they're in Russia, that's that country, and these people are treated so badly. And yet, whether or not that's true, I don't think they had it great at all, but they were able to produce these incredible athletes, some of these countries that we were told were so bad, and yet here were these stars, these humans that were sort of superhuman. And this one especially because she was so young, and there weren't a lot of kids that we noticed doing feats like this. And so gymnastics really took off as a sport, I think, around that time here. A lot of my friends were in gymnastics, but mostly this idea that a girl, someone just a little bit older than us, could do so much and do it so perfectly. So Nadia actually retired, I think, in 1984. So she was pretty young. I guess they don't do the sports for too long. And then she defected to the United States from Romania, which was also this exotic story that I remember during the Cold War. And now she has a gymnastics studio or a school with her husband, who was also an Olympic gymnast. So that's Nadia Coma, and she is one of my first heroes.